Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode here on InicioSMP. We are back here in our little base area, and I figured today we would talk about trial and error in building and maybe Windows a little bit. Being more of an aesthetic player and liking to build, I didn't want to just have these big, kind of lunky farms out here in the open, so I decided I was going to build a couple of facades around them. So you'll notice I've got more of a standard rectangle here, and then we've got kind of like a weird chunky L or like a boot-shaped building over here. But then we've got this granite guy here that kind of looks wonky and janky because I was trying to fit both of these flower farms in one building. So here's where the error comes in. And the trial, I guess. So trial and error can be a really important thing when it comes to building. If you don't rush yourself and you give yourself time to sit with your builds, you might find that maybe this isn't what I envisioned, so maybe I should tear it down and rebuild it or move them a little bit. So with this guy here, I kind of wanted the sea pickle farm to be right up against the window, but I left this block here because I wanted to have access to the chests. But then I realized I can still access them from the side, so this building is going to actually be moved in one block, and then I'm going to extend it over a little bit further. So I'm going to fix this building, and then this one here, where I have my too tall flower farm and my little flower farm, I was going to do it one giant build, but I think now what we're going to do is we're going to split it into two. And then I'm going to do an andesite stone brick and stone building around the two tall flowers. And then we're going to keep the polished granite and throw in some natural granite around the single flower farm. I'm still not entirely sure what I'm going to do with the shape of the buildings, but it should be interesting. So what I'll do, now that I've decided that this is more of an error and less of a success, I'm going to tweak these buildings like we just discussed, and then as soon as they're tweaked up, we'll talk about roofs and we'll talk about windows and other little details. I hope you like these more chatty videos where we talk more about building theory and stuff, because I really want to help elevate people's building game and elevate my own while I'm at it, you know? Alright, so let's get into it. Alrighty everybody, in what was a few seconds for you, it's a couple days for me, I worked out some trial and error, and as you can see the building I had built behind me has been completely demolished, and I actually moved it over there instead because as I was standing here, kind of working on the area, giving myself some time to kind of live with the buildings and see how I liked the layout, it turned out I really didn't like the layout of having the one building here. I think I'm going to build like a little city center here, and I've actually started calling this the merchant area. So, now that I've got some builds built and some houses around our farms, why don't we talk about some windows and some roofs and kind of get into the nuts and bolts of how I build. I am sorry that I didn't exactly record as much of the building as I wanted to. My brain kind of went whee and just kind of ran off and built. But I figured at the very least we can stand here and talk about different roof styles, different build styles. We can talk about windows a little bit. And if you want to see me do maybe a more in-depth tutorial where maybe I actually show you how to build some windows, we talk about roofs or something, please comment down below and let me know. If there's anything else you'd like to see me do, maybe more in-depth building tutorials or tips and tricks about, let me know, because I'd love to start doing some more building stuff and some more tutorial type stuff and really talk about my building theory and how I like to build and the things I like to do. So you'll notice here I've got a nice curved roof on this one. It's usually more commonly referred to as like a Quonset hut style roof. And then this roof over here is what's called a low gable, and it's made primarily out of slabs. And it gives it more of like a lower feeling. You still get a bit of a pitch on it. So low gable roofs are usually seen in areas that don't get a lot of snow, because you don't have to really worry about the snow piling up on the roofs and causing a collapse. So it's a little bit more of a low peak and a little bit more of a low elevation, as you can see here. But I really like how it kind of flows together, and it gives it a nice little roof. And then I've got these bay windows here that I built, and then some side windows. And then this guy over here, I actually built kind of a mix. So this has a normal gable roof, which is made out of stairs, and then over the entryway, I did a low gable roof. And then we did just like a bit of a slanted roof on this side. And then you'll notice I've got a little bit of a normal gable roof over here too, that kind of leads into a bit of a slanted or a flat roof. It's all about how you work with different roof styles and kind of mix them together. Alright, now that we've talked about roofs, let's talk about windows. So I did touch a little bit on the bay window I did, and this little guy here. So this is an even window. You'll notice the window itself is 2 blocks wide, and then this window over here is 3 blocks wide. And all I did was use stairs and walls to kind of make it look more like a popped out bay window on this side. And then this is essentially the same thing. The only difference is I replaced the stairs in the middle with leaves, and then I did slabs across the top instead of stairs across the top like that. They look like completely different windows, but really it's just a couple of little changes in the fact that I have the glass out on the stairs instead of even with the interior wall over here. So it really does boil down to just doing little things like that can make different windows. Like this is a 3 wide window, and you'll notice all of the actual window is bumped out, so it makes it look more like a bay window. And this is just stairs, and then I've got walls back there to connect the glass to. And then we've got this little window here, which is a lot like the windows in the front. The only difference is I added some trapdoors and some fences around it to kind of box the window in a little bit. I did try that here, but because I did my little accent thing I like to do with hanging signs to make it look like little banners and flags, it didn't really make sense to try and do half the windows or do one of them, so I just left them blank. It's important to remember that even in real life, some windows aren't boxed in. They don't have, fancy windowsills or maybe an awning over them. Sometimes they are just bare windows, like the one over the doorway to our flower farms. You'll notice this is essentially the same as the windows here on the front. The only difference is I left this space here, and it looks like 2 separate windows because it is. But then this one, instead of having the windows go in and meet a solid block here, I just replaced it with walls and stairs, and you'll notice it makes it look like it's more of a wide bay window that is 1 window instead of 2 windows, if that makes sense. It's all about the little things, honestly. A lot of people doubt themselves when it comes to building, but really it comes down to just trusting and doing little tricks like this that make things different. Like if we look at these windows back here, this is just some stairs, some walls, and then I've got some slabs kind of popping out the top, and then I have more stairs here in the back. These are the same exact window. The only difference is I've taken leaf blocks and put them in front of the one window and left them off in the other. And you'll notice it does add a little bit more to the window, but it also makes it look like a different window. You'll notice I did some wooden windows around these. Just some slabs and some trapdoors and a little fencing. It doesn't take much to dress up a window and actually make it kind of look like a window. The actual window in the build is framed with stairs and walls, and it gives it that added dimension. And then once you add in stairs and slabs on the outside of the window, it gives it even more dimension and makes it look like an actual windowsill. And then up here is really the only thing that doesn't really pertain per se to windows or roofs, is this back wall section. So a lot of people will just cover windows or cover builds in windows, and I get that impulse. I used to do that a ton, and I still do to a certain degree. But you'll notice just using some stairs and some full blocks, I was able to add some definition to this wall that didn't involve just splattering it with windows. I've got one nice big framed in window up here, and then I've got some little accents here, and with the starkness of the bone blocks behind it, it really makes it pop. And then if we come over here, we've got these plain little windows, which look a little plain, and they are, but you can also do this, where you just use stairs around the windows, and it doesn't always need to be framed in with like a contrasting color or stairs and slabs and walls. You can literally just do a little stair work around them, and I happen to like it. It's not for everybody, but to each their own, I guess. I understand this wholeheartedly because of my ADHD and because of my OCD, that a lot of people want to rush, and they want to rush, and they want to rush through the builds. And for me personally, I used to do that, but then I noticed that the most important thing that I could do to get better at building was think about the build, start the build, and then stop. Like, literally, just stop. Allow yourself a day, half a day, 2 days, a week, whatever. Allow yourself a little time to sit there with maybe the bare frame of the building, or maybe part of the building up. Think about the block palette you want to use. Think about the roof style you want to use. Think about what you're planning to do with the building. Are you just building a build because you like to make things? That's totally awesome. But if you have buildings like these ones that house all of our farms that are supposed to be aesthetically pleasing while also serving an actual function like housing our farms, it's important to slow down a little bit. Give yourself that time. Sit there, mull it over, roll it around in your brain a little bit, and just give yourself the time to figure out what really is going to work in the space that you're working in. And if it's not something you are proud of, or if it's not something that you want, just tear it down. I know it seems so counterintuitive to spend time to building something and then tearing it down because you're not pleased with it, but in the long run, you're going to feel so much better, because if you build it and you just get to the end of the build process and you're like, well, guys, I don't think I like this. I don't like this at all. It's not turning out. And you just leave it. Every time you go past that build, you're going to have that same thought of like, man, I wish I had done this differently, or I'd wish I'd changed this out, or I'd wish I'd done that. And all you'll be doing is spending all your time just wishing that you had done something differently. And there's absolutely no shame in just allowing yourself to just tear it down. If you're not liking how something looks, tear it down. Rework it. Figure out a way to make it look the way that you envisioned it would look in your head. There are plenty of YouTubers and plenty of tips and tricks and tutorials out there that you can use to slowly pick up tricks and tips to improve your building skill. And then maybe you'll get to a point where you feel comfortable enough to start making some of your own builds. It's literally just allowing yourself the space and the time to just trial and error, make mistakes. And in the long run, you're going to be so much more pleased with the way your builds turn out. I really hope you like this video where we're talking about windows and roofs and kind of my building theory and a little bit of motivational speaking a little bit to kind of give you some words of wisdom and maybe a little comfort to know that you've got to get out of your own head sometimes, and self-critique can be important, but too much self-critique can be hindering, and that's an important distinction. So allow yourself the time to trial and error. Don't rush through everything. Allow the building process to just happen organically. Think about all the different elements of the building. Think about the walls. Think about the windows. Think about the roof. Think about the block palette and how you want the floor to be laid out and everything else. And slowly, piece by piece, if you give yourself the time and the patience, you might be a little surprised what you're able to come up with just by your own creativity. With that said, I genuinely hope everyone has a wonderful day and a beautiful tomorrow. If you like this video, please consider giving it a like. If you want to see more of this nonsense, consider subscribing. And if there's anything you want to hear me ramble about, building tutorials or tips and tricks in the future, please, please, please comment down below. Either way, take care, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Later. Oh, shit. Well, that didn't work. Okay. Either way. Bye, guys.